I made a mistake. Oh my goodness. I don't know how I did this, but I didn't finish in the last video. And I think it's a really cool thing. So if you look here, this is the actual finished version I was supposed to be doing, where when I come off, you see how, like, the animation runs forward, but then when I come off, it runs in reverse. And on this, I didn't do that. When I did this with you guys, the red is first and then the red is first again, which sort of takes away the fun of it. And I'm really mad at myself for forgetting that, to be honest. There was actually, Kuntal had commented and said, and I hope I said your name right, he commented and said, dude, you didn't, it doesn't look the same as the teaser you gave us in your story, and why not? And he actually asked if I used JS, and I didn't use any JS. So in this video, we're going to see how we can turn this into this one, and it's really easy, and it's one of those cool little fun things that just helps us understand CSS better. Alright, so this is exactly where we left off, and now the last video, if you didn't see it, was a exploration mostly in transforms and transform origin. We had to have some transitions in there. This video is going to be more about transition and transition delay and how that works, as well as hover and just the idea of where hover comes in. If you did not see the video where I did the rest of this, I really encourage you to check that out. The link is in the description. It's the very first thing. You don't even have to click the read more button because I wanted to make it easy. I want you to go and check that video out if you didn't, just because there's a lot of stuff in there to learn and how I built all of this and how we got to here, because it was a lot of fun to do and we did some really cool and fun stuff with it. But if you just want this video, that's fine, and that's cool too. So, you know, don't leave just because you didn't see the other one. I think there's some fun other stuff to learn in this one. So as we can see now, when I go on, this is sliding out, but when I go off, I want that to delay when it comes off. So I actually have to think of this and change the way I'm thinking a little bit, as this is my default state, and then I have my hover state right here. So my card hover, and then this is just what's happening normally. So my normal isn't when I go here. My normal is only when my mouse leaves. So on this transition that I have here, I actually want to delay that. Transition delay of 250 milliseconds. I'm choosing that time because it's the same as what I put on the white thing. So the white thing takes 250 milliseconds to happen. So when I come on, you can see now they're synced. They're both happening all at the same time, which isn't exactly what I want. So now what I want is actually when I hover, I don't want a transition delay. So on the hover itself, I can turn off my transition delay, 0 ms. So 0 milliseconds. So now when I hover, you can see there's no delay when I first go on, and there's a delay when I leave. So the delay is only happening, there's no delay when I hover, but then it goes away. Now, one thing that's really important that threw me off a little bit when I created this is you can't just put 0. Most CSS units, if you leave off a unit, as long as it's 0, it works, because 0 is 0 is 0. It doesn't matter if it's 0%, 0 pixels, 0 whatever. With this, it matters. If you just put 0, it doesn't accept it. So you have to give it could be 0 seconds, I guess, if you want to keep a keystroke, but you have to put a unit for your transition delay here for it to actually work. Now what we can do is come down onto the card body, which is what had my white background on it. And on there, do the same thing. So on this one, I'd already put a delay for when we hover. So when I go that way, it's working. But now when I leave, I want to do the same thing that I did before. Now in this case, it's actually the opposite. I want this one. So I originally put that on to here because that was working. But I want that delay that I had here originally to only be when it hovers. So here I could put a transition delay of 250 milliseconds and hit save. And now it works in both directions. Now you notice I don't have a transition delay on the regular state for this one. I could add it in if you want it for clarity, but by omitting it, it just defaults to nothing. So the default state is nothing. And remember, the default is here, I'm hovering, so it's including the delay. When I leave, it's going to the default state. It's going to this state here, which doesn't have a delay on it. So here my delay kicks in. When I come off, there's no delay. So then we get this nice little... it's sort of working out pretty good. The only problem is my text is actually still there. So I might also want to change, this is where I had my transparent coming in, and I did have a delay on that. So I'm actually going to change that one as well. Card body hover, whoops. We want to do it like we've been doing it throughout. Dot card hover card body. And this way, when we hover, we want to keep the transition. So transition delay of 350 milliseconds, but I don't actually want to have a transition when I leave because I want it to run that animation right away. So the text disappears as soon as my mouse leaves, but then when I come in, it delays that text from coming in. And there we have it. I hope you liked this. I hope you learned a little something new. I'm really sorry for not including that in the end of the last video. It completely skipped my mind. I don't know why, but I'm happy that somebody pointed it out. So if ever you see me make a mistake in a video, please point it out, because I can't edit old videos, but I can always make updates if it's something important. And I thought this was really fun and another way to further our CSS learning. So please, a few people in the last video on the comment section did ask how important are hover events. And it's, hover is less important now than it used to be because we're in a touch world. But I do think it's important. It's fun doing these. I find this a lot of fun. I love building stuff like this. But another thing that's important is it furthers your understanding of CSS. As I looked at in the last video, we're looking at how position absolute and position relative sort of relate to each other. How does Z index work? How does stacking context work? All of these things start coming up when you start doing stuff like this. So even if you might not be using these exact hover states as much as we used to, we could include active states in these as well. So if somebody's tabbing through, they're also running it. But this were really more of a let's have fun with CSS and just do some cool stuff, and we're going to learn along the way. So just to mention that, but I do think that hover states still do have a place in the world. But I should, if we should be doing hovers as well as actives, depending on, especially on the buttons and stuff like that. And on the links. So I hope you liked that video. If you did, just let me know. Leave a comment down below if I forgot something else. Hopefully not. I don't think I'll be following up again with this one specifically. Thanks so much for watching. Have an amazing weekend. And until next week, don't forget to make your corner of the internet just a little bit more awesome.